Alright, so I totally forgot to make a video of how to take it apart, but I'm just gonna start making little videos. This is part of this is the EGR of valve, and this is part of the cooler. That's what this part goes to the intake manifold. Just to show what I used to clean it, literally one of my 40 caliber gun brush. That's it. That's what I used to clean. This part, and this part, and the cooler. Side. The cooler. Well, I use a pressure washer to clean it. Some helps. It's pretty good now. It was nasty. You couldn't see even the metals or anything in it. I use one of those old school Costco pressure washers. If you go to a car wash better, but this did it. So that was it. So we're gonna put it back together. Note to you guys is all the bolts and nuts are 12 and E-torque or reverse torque 8. There's 3 of them you have to completely take out. So for example, these 2 are the ones that go into the exhaust manifold. So those 2 you just loosen up the 12 first and then use the E-torque and take them out completely. That way you have freedom to move them back and forth. On the head, see that little one right there? I leave that one in, but the one that goes here on this part right here, these E-torque, again I release the 12 and then remove the whole thing completely. That way you can move them around, and you don't have to take the intake manifold or anything out. Just those 3 bolts. There's plenty of space. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 hoses, and then of course the part goes into the intake manifold. I'll show you later. So just before you do anything, remove those hoses. All right, remove those hoses. If you already had the intake out, you can reach out all the way down. Not the intake, but just the boot, the area where the filter is right here. You can reach out to the radiator and you can feel the plug so that you can drain the coolant. And it takes no time, and like in 5 minutes that coolant is gonna be out. So let me put it together, or I'll try to do short videos to help you guys out. Yeah, let me place it. So one thing I do is I take both of these bolts out, place it into the intake manifold and the area goes through, and then I put the gasket or the top bolt, and then place the bolt in. So I hold the gasket, then swing it down so I can put the other bolt on the bottom. What I do is I reach through this side, and then through the back with my other hand. On the CT200s you have space. On the Prius you have to take this part off. But when you take this part off on the Prius, you have way more space than on the CT200H. Correction, on my prior video, I said that there is only 3 bolts that I took the E out. There's 3 bolts with the E out, but there is a 12 that goes right here that you also have to take out. So as you can see, I already put the bolts that goes in the manifold. I'm not gonna tie them up yet, only the E part of it, until I put this ones in and I place it on the angle that it has to be. And then, because believe it or not, that part is very flexible in the back. So let me do that real quick. A question I got from one of the guys is if I put the lower rear bolt back. So this is what I do. I put a magnet in it, put it in, and then get a long flat and place it, and then of course I put the socket and tie it back up. All the bolts are in, including that back one, the rear. So summarize again. 12 and 8E, 12, the bottom 12 and 8E, in the back 212 and 80. And then of course we'll have to put in back the hoses. We got this bad boy right here. That one in the rear. This one on top. And then you're gonna have this one on bottom. And then this one which goes to the actual intake manifold. Right here. One thing I'd like to point out, since you're here, is, I don't know if you can see this, so dirty. This is the vent for the transmission, the actual vent. Pretty sure it's a long 14. I'm gonna take it out and clean it out so she can breathe better. Since we're already here, might as well, right? Now we're gonna place the intake manifold in. EGR's on. You got all these cables. Move them up a little bit. I just make a little bit of space. PCB. If you're here, might as well change it. Do not buy any aftermarket. The aftermarket is blow through. Buy OEM for it. If you bought an aftermarket, you might be having an extra consumption because they blow through. So make sure all the hoses are in. Nothing in the middle. Like this part goes to this hole, so I'll move it over to the side. Place it through the two guides it has. Make sure nothing is holding it up. In the middle, like these hoses, for example. Move them out of the way. PCV, make sure you have the clamp on this side and start bolting it on. Now install your throttle body and your map sensor. And then I'm gonna torque the map and the 4 bolts for the throttle body. And then I start putting the hoses together and the cable connections. Before we do the cable connections, we're going to install this pipe. This is the pipe that goes from the EGR to the intake manifold. And there's 2 parts. The part that has the extra bolt, the 3rd bolt, goes to the intake manifold. The gasket is gasket in, place it in, move this a little bit to the side so you can place it in, because this part goes on top, it goes right here, it goes this little harness right here. So let's do that real quick. Now that all that is on, we're gonna put this hose back together, throttle body upper hose, throttle body side hose, throttle body connector, little evaporator hose. Get out of the way. PCV hose back in the harness. We're gonna plug everything back in. The injectors, one by one, all the injectors. I'm gonna plug the knock sensor. Plug back in the water pump and the AC compressor input line. I taped it always. I don't want dirt to get into the plugs. You don't want them to get damaged with water or dirt. Throttle body connection too. Let's put it together. Alright. All the connections are in. Injectors, AC, water pump, the harness is in. Now we're going to make the throw two intake hose in, and you're gonna have to put this part of the gearbox right here. Goes down here, has two bolts and a plastic. Look at the little plastic. Here goes. This goes in there. Place that in there. Make sure this hose is out of the way. So this hose is gonna go on this side of it. Right here, this way, right? And the other part you can place it in. Also has two bolts. Just this. Has two bolts. One here in the engine mount, one here in the intake manifold. And then this hand goes here to the airbox. One thing I did is I put this plastic clip right here, so you can take out the two plastic clips that goes right here. That's what holds this side of the noise reduction part. Alright, everything's back together. Next thing is fill up the coolant tank as much as you can, then turn the heater on inside and put the car in maintenance mode for a while, and keep adding until it's full.